nighttime in Chiang Mai in northern Thailand, a draw to tourists from around the world. They're attracted to the sights and sounds and colours, as well as the chance to come face to face with an elephant, a symbol revered by all in Thailand. Many tourists are charmed to see an elephant strolling through the streets of Chiang Mai. The elephants either perform tricks, or their handler sells sugarcane, which the tourists buy and feed to the elephants. But cities are definitely not the best places for elephants, who are often hit by vehicles in the busy streets. Also, the harsh road surfaces are crippling for elephants' feet. And the elephants are frequently fed amphetamines to keep them awake at night when they should be sleeping. This can turn an elephant into a nervous wreck. They're also used in so-called trekking camps, where mostly tourists come to have the experience of riding on an elephant. However, although an elephant looks incredibly powerful, in fact its back is not as strong as it looks, especially towards the rear where the heavy wooden seat is placed, and the combined weight of the heavy seat plus the weight of the tourists crushes the spine of the elephant. But there's a sinister side to the backgrounds of these elephants. In order to get them to perform, first they have to be trained. And this is what the training looks like. Known as the Pajan, a young elephant is taken to a hell camp, where it is tortured into submission. It is forced into a small stockade where it cannot move, and is brutalized until it succumbs and its spirit is crushed. It is poked in the eyes with sticks and attacked with chains and a sharpened metal hook. This happens to all elephants. Now a group of people has been drawn to Thailand to try and make some small difference. Their aim is to rescue as many elephants as they can and release them so that the elephants can live the rest of their lives in freedom.
The Walk to Freedom came about as an idea of Leanne's and myself, both being so passionate about elephants and the situation of elephants in general in Thailand. An opportunity came up that we could rescue some trekking elephants, and we just thought what an unbelievable experience that we could have rescuing these elephants and walking them through the jungle. And then we thought that if we took a group of people with us, we would be able to raise some funds by taking the group, and those funds could be used towards rescuing elephants also.
And just through social media, the word spread, and we had a waiting list of people, and within a couple of days of giving definite dates of when we would be heading back to Thailand, we were booked out. We were fully booked, and we had a great group of people who were going to come along with us.
First stop is a trekking camp, where the group plans to see for themselves what the conditions are like. While they do that, Leanne and Celia take a look behind the scenes.
If you actually have a look at the elephants and particularly take good notice of their backs, especially the one in the background here and one we'll go and have a look at soon, you can really see where the seat is cutting into them, and it's actually pushing their spine into a different direction. So with the elephant that's actually here, you can see how the back goes down in humps, and that's not how an elephant's back should go. And it's because the pressure of the seat pushing down on the backbone constantly.
Is this heavy? Is it heavy for her?
That must be tied under her throat, Leanne, do you think? Must be very uncomfortable for her. And there's like a sharp bolt thing underneath, which would be digging into her.
So with this elephant here, you'll notice particularly that she's swaying a lot. She's quite a young elephant. And there's a lot of swaying, the head bobbing, the constant up and down, side to side motion. means that she's very distressed and very unhappy. And when you get a little bit closer to her, she does sort of almost charge you, I guess you'd say, in terms of probably warning you to stay away. She's really also got quite a pronounced backbone on her. I'm not sure what would have caused that. She looks like she'd be too young to carry the seat, but we can never be too sure.
This is like an absolute sort of psychosis that goes on when they get to this point.
And you can see she doesn't have much reach with her foot. The chain is quite short and tight around her foot.
This guy looks pretty sick and old. He seems to rest his back legs a lot, so I'd say he's got a problem somewhere with his hips, maybe, his joints. But this front foot here looks like it's got an infection in it. And he just looks so skinny and unwell. He's definitely not a happy elephant.
But it actually goes from bad to worse.
This one's on a really short chain. I don't know why they would have her on something that short. She can't move at all, hardly. She's almost chained to the pole. Like, she can only... That's it. She can't even really move more than one step away from the pole. She's so unhappy. You look at her eyes. Her eyes are just shows in her eyes. She's miserable. As the elephant walks with the people in the basket, we've noticed that the rope is pulling up with each step right up into her throat. So it must be very uncomfortable for them.
If we imagine we're thinking as an elephant thinks, and we're feeling what an elephant feels, it's going to be very, very soul-destroying for the elephant. Very hurtful, very painful, very damaging. It's going to create a sense of depression for the elephant. It will feel alienated. It will feel lost, lonely, and hurt.
It's time for Celia and Leanne to meet up with the rest of the group. To contrast with the privately owned trekking camp, the group visits the government-run elephant showground. Here, the only people who ride the elephants are the specially trained mahouts. But in order to pay for the upkeep of the showground, the elephants are persuaded to perform tricks for the crowd.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Talopan Conservation Center. เก็บได้3 วิธีนะคะ Alright, have you ever seen elephant sleep at night? The next show, elephant will show you how they sleep. โชว์ต่อไปค่ะสาธิตการนอน
The tricks are all very clever, and the crowd applauds enthusiastically. But few in the crowd would know how the elephants are trained. They won't know about the pajan. As members of the group look on, they're not so impressed. They can see the special hook that each of the mahouts still carries to ensure that each elephant remembers its training.
The mahouts are holding a stick with an anchor-type hook on the end. It's a knife.
Later, Mo discovers that replicas of the hook are being sold in the gift shop. The next day, Celia and Leanne head into the offices of the Elephant Nature Park, an organisation that rescues elephants throughout Thailand. The park has arranged for several elephants to be freed and for the group to accompany them in their walk to that freedom. But there's an unpleasant surprise in store for the group.
Oh my God!
On the road to the park, Celia receives a disturbing phone call.
So there's a problem with the elephant trekking camp. They're very angry that the elephants are leaving. So we'll come and talk to you now. Okay, we'll probably be about 40 minutes. Okay, thanks, Pom. We'll see you soon. Bye.
It now looks as though there'll be no elephants to rescue, and the whole trip will have to be aborted.
Today's plan was to go and visit the elephants that were being released, and there's a problem with the elephant trekking camp owner who knows what's happening now with the elephants, and he's very angry. So Pom, who's the park manager, EMP manager, she's requested that we come and visit her first before we go to the trekking camp. So Pom, can you tell us what's happened with the elephants?
Well, the owner of the elephants.
Pom explains that there has only recently been an experimental group of elephants freed from a trekking camp. And although the hill tribes who rent the elephants to the trekking camps are happy for them to be released, the trekking camp owner is afraid that he's going to lose all his elephants and is extremely angry. He is refusing to release any more elephants.
He has paid the rent in advance, has he, for the elephants?
Yes.
Okay.
Which camp are they at?
No, further north.
Further north.
Not far. Really close to Myeongseon, like 30 kilometers to Myeongseon.
Uh-huh.
And this park is somewhere around here. Walk to Smong. This direction.
Over the mountain?
Over the mountain
And so where do we stop at a few places on the way?
yeah, on the way.
Yep.
You look, it's not far.
Okay. The main situation is at the moment that there's one of the elephants which is being rented. The trekking camp has paid in advance for that rent. So for them to release the elephant, they want the money back that they've already paid in advance. The challenge is knowing how much money that actually is. So that's the situation with one of the elephants. The other elephant, the trekking camp has said they've paid up until the 1st of August and they don't want to release the elephant until the 1st of August. The elephant owner, which is the Karen tribe, have said to them, well, we need her back because we actually want to use her for something, which isn't the truth. But they just want her back as soon as possible because after our trip this week, we're not sure, because of the rainy season, when we'd be able to do another walk like this because it's too wet and the rain is going to be too heavy to be able to walk through the jungle.
There's nothing for it but to wait at the Elephant Nature Park while the situation is sorted out between the hill tribes and the trekking camp. And here the group can at least hang out with the elephants and get a taste of what is in store for the freed elephants. While it can only offer a limited freedom, at least here the elephants are treated with the respect they deserve. Set in Chiang Mai province, the elephants here have been rescued from all over Thailand.
Elephant poo from that one, Melana.
Really?
Right.
How do you know?
Because our Melana.
You can tell by the smell of it.
No smell.
Smells like grass clippings.
Just grass.
Actually smell pretty good.
Yeah, it smells like grass clippings.
Not at all like dog.
The park guide describes how this elephant was originally used to beg in the streets in the south of Thailand and was then moved to work in a logging camp from where she was rescued, and how with this elephant both its leg and back were broken by being used in a trekking camp.
So now you're looking her leg, left leg is broken, or her bone is broken, right, and too short now. But she can run very fast, and she can come from the middle coming. And her owner shoot her by just a little.
And this elephant is blind. One time when she wouldn't work, the elephant's owner prodded her in the eye to make her work. This blinded her in that eye. Later on she had a baby, but the baby died. The elephant, grieving for her lost child, lay down and cried, and the owner, in some twisted way, thought that if he took a stone and fired it into the other eye, this would make the elephant work harder. Now she's blind in both eyes.
I think for me, being my first time in the park, it's been interesting to do what we've done and go from the tourist kind of very unnatural places to this place, and the stark contrast has been quite obvious to me. And this morning going around and just seeing the animals in their natural habitat, happily grazing and interacting and not being afraid of humans has been really, really nice to see.
With the whole question of the walk to release the elephants still up in the air, nevertheless, the next morning some members of the group meet up to discuss the trip.
From our perspective, to give you some background around the trip and how it came about, was when Celia and I were here in April, we saw it as an opportunity to perhaps bring some other people along with us on this trip to experience something almost from scratch, like a new project, and be there not just as a volunteer but to actually be there as the elephant support to the new project as well. And hopefully you will have an experience and you will go back and then you will bring 5 people, or you will bring 3 people, or you will bring 6 people, or you'll tell 10 people about it, and they will all want to come and volunteer at the new project. Your experience is the walking and you know what we are going to see along the way, and that is the elephants, really, and be there for them. You know, what I wanted to get out of this, it wasn't that I want to enjoy every minute of it, because it's just not going to happen.
It's going to be pain.
The reality is that is not going to happen. What you may or may not have as expectations is going to change. You know, you can't plan for this. I could tell you, all right, we're going to walk here. The only certainty is we will leave one point and we'll get to a point at the end of the day. What time of day that is, we don't know, because an elephant can walk however an elephant wants to walk.
Nearby the elephant park is the elephant hospital. Here the group meets up with Carl Cullen, who is to join them on their journey. Carl is very unusual. Although coming from Ireland, he has lived with elephants for 5 years and worked as a mahout.
The mahout, it was literally the person who sat on the elephant's neck and drove. In the not too distant past, an elephant would have 3 people taking care of it. The mahout, who was the driver, the person who would get the fodder for the elephant every day, so he'd go off and cut the grass, and the spearman, who would walk alongside the elephant, and he'd have a long spear, and he would also be the one that would tether the elephant and untether the elephant. So there's 3 very different roles. A mahout today, in most cases, will be all of those 3 roles combined. To find a Western mahout or a mahout from Western culture or Western background is quite uncommon in Thailand. There's a very deeply ingrained culture in all of Southeast Asia in terms of looking after elephants. And so certain tribal groups and stuff like that have tended to work with elephants throughout the centuries or throughout the millennia even, and that's continued largely up until this day. So there's no real need for the most part for any person from the outside to come in and take that role. For me, it was just being in the right place at the right time, I guess, and I was incredibly lucky.
So the mum's still in the day, or mum's dead?
Yeah, Dad. Another one, sugar puff.
While the group has fun watching the baby elephants, they can't help noticing that even here at this hospital for sick and pregnant elephants, the minders are surreptitiously using hooks. But now there's an opportunity to learn how to ride on an elephant like mahouts do, without hurting the elephant. Members of the group visit a smaller park, also near Chiang Mai, called the Thai Elephant Home.
Some elephant they automatic like a car. Stand up. Some elephant you must comment. Say look, map long and look. And how means stop.
The manager Joe tells them how to control an elephant.
So if you want to turn left, you kick with this leg?
Yeah, opposite side.
Opposite side.
Okay. Do we have to ride it?
No. Sometimes we use this one. Not all the time. Because everybody love elephant also. We have elephant, we love elephant. But elephant too big and very strong. If we don't have this one, sometimes we can't stop it. We can't control it.
For example, like Boon C, one of our elephants doesn't like motorbikes.
She's scared.
Yeah, so sometimes it's just there rested on her, just so that she remembers, you know, there's people, be safe, think about what you're doing.
Chrissy from England is a volunteer at the elephant home.
And common elephant. And your elephant's not do everything more.
In like the emergency, that's when the hook's used. Otherwise, they would just use the bamboo outside, just almost like a whip with a horse.
I understand why you use them, but it's like holding a gun. I hate it.
It's time to put the theory into practice. First, a little offering. And then it's time to learn the correct way to get on an elephant.
Can you bring it over to show us?
On the leg, okay.
Yeah. Now just show. I'm going and go. Map luôn. Map luôn. Map. Vô. Hello, Map. Map luôn. Hello. This go.
All done without a hook or a stick.
Look. Sometimes elephant can body down.
A little bit in the front. A little bit.
Look. Okay, now can you move on the front?
You feed.
But some of the group are still unhappy about actually riding the elephants.
Sorry, go on.
No. I don't want to go on.
Duly organised, the small expedition heads for the river.
Okay,
Having survived crossing the river without drowning, Sarah and Chrissy hurry to catch up with the others. Rowan's horse riding skills help her find her balance as she leads the small caravan. But Marilyn's not so sure. At the top of the hill, the elephants are led to a small waterhole where they enjoy splashing themselves with water. Having had their shower, it's time for the elephants' main treat, their mud bath. This mud is very good for the elephant's skin and helps keep them healthy. Clearly, the elephants revel in their spa treatment. And the group enjoy it too.
No, I took my thing off.
Their bath over, it's time for the elephants to head home. But this has also been a meaningful experience for group members.
I got really emotional when we got to the mud pit because the elephant that I'm riding was actually borrowed from across the road. And she normally does painting and shows in the morning, and she gets tied up for the rest of the day, and she gets hosed off a couple of times a day, and she gets to go in the river, but she doesn't get to go in the mud. So as you can probably tell, I got really emotional about that. And she looked like she was having such a good time, and I just really feel for the elephants that don't normally get to do that. fun, and I wish it was possible for her to be in an operation where she gets to do that every day. Because they obviously loved it, and they were rubbing themselves against each other, and we were rubbing the mud on them, and they just looked so incredibly happy, and I find it so sad that they'd be tied up and not able to do what comes naturally to them.
A last chance to wash off the mud.
I've always felt that I shouldn't ride an elephant. It is a lot worse to ride them in a basket and do that whole touristy thing where they've got the heavy basket and 3 people in it. I think that's a lot worse. I think it's okay for mahouts to ride their elephants on their neck, not all the time, but I think that's appropriate. I just think by sitting on an elephant, I'm sort of going against what I believe, whether it's on a basket or not, you know. I don't think that's for tourists to do. I prefer to see them in their natural habitat and when they're wild and rolling in the mud and having fun, yeah.
Back at the Elephant Nature Park, all is set for the group to start their walk the next day. But first, a little ceremony to send them on their way. And then it's the turn of the local Karen shaman to bless the walk to freedom.
นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะสัพพะทะสัพพะทาสัพพะเคราะห์สัพพะภัยเคราะห์ภายในให้ใดของนอกเคราะห์ภายนอกให้ใดนี้เคราะห์ลาวีเกิดการเคราะห์ในลายหลักเคราะห์ปิกรรมเคราะห์เป็นลำอย่าได้มาไกลเคราะห์เจ็บเคราะห์ไม่ให้ใดนี้เกิดการให้โลภเกิดการสมองให้เราเกิดการเส้นได้ได้โลภในกระสุนเคราะห์เคราะห์ใดนี้ ข้าจักตีก้อนให้ก้อนได้แหลมโดยที่ประมวลแก้วแก่นคนมีภาษีเจริญมาเกิดกาลเลยสังหารเป็นปัจจัยสภาพสุขสภาพปัญญาสภาพอาวินิสิโตสา
Next morning, the group prepare for the first part of the journey. They drive away from Chiang Mai towards the Karen village, where they're to meet the first elephant. The trip is a long one, and they'll break the journey for lunch at the beautiful Wachiratan waterfall, and then change vehicles.
Oh, the minibus can't go any further? Yeah. The road gets bad. Okay. And how much further for us?
It's like 20 km more.
20 kilometres?
Yeah.
Yep.
The buses can't manage to get up the roads properly.
So we've come down from Chiang Mai. Around Chom Thong we turned in towards the national park. Once we got in towards the national park, Doi Anthanon National Park, we've come along, we've passed Mae Chem, and we've headed north. So at the moment we're at Mae Na Chon. We're going to keep going north to get to Mae Sa, but the actual route via truck would have been to go this way. But we need to head north to go to Mae Sa. To pick up the first elephant, and also then to head on to Mae Lapi to pick up the second elephant tomorrow.
Is that first class? Let's sit on the mat.
I don't know, don't sit on it, there's something
No, the tyre's first class, that's business. There might have to be a couple of treats.
More water.
Oh, you're
kidding.
the
water. Missing the water.
Later that afternoon, they arrive at the first Karen village. The villagers have kindly provided accommodation for the group.
Getting here is amazing, and like driving into the valley and realising
we are in the middle of nowhere and there's an elephant here somewhere just waiting to meet us as well. I think it's pretty cool. Sort of like, oh, what's he going to be like and things like that. And I hate waiting right now for everyone, and I just want to walk and just get there and meet him. So yeah, very excited. Bit nervous starting the walk tomorrow, but yeah, very excited.
Even though the walk isn't due to start until the next morning, the group are keen to meet the first elephant they'll free.
I only know that he used to be at the park and we're freeing him.
Cut these now. The elephant likes it.
Yes.
That's good. The elephant really likes And now the elephant.
All at once the elephant appears. But there is some confusion because this is not the elephant they were expecting.
28 years old.
Nevertheless, the group are still excited about walking with this beautiful elephant and taking him on his journey.
I was just so excited to see him coming up to the track and know that he's just going to have a life of freedom now. He's not going to have to be chained up like he has been. And he looks a beautiful elephant anyway, so I think, oh, he's going to have such a lovely life.
Leanne talks with the elephant's mahout.
And this is your elephant? Your elephant. And his name?
Next morning, even though the group is keen to start walking, there's one little task that they have to do before they leave. They've brought with them some gifts for the village kids. There are some last-minute things to attend to, including warding off possible leeches.
I'm really hoping that they're going to stop the leeches coming in. And I'm hoping I'm going to be able to see the leeches as they start crawling up before they get up here.
Mine's all leaked out like that too.
Okay. Now I get all the other people to send me a photo.
Okay.
Which camera?
He goes.
Then, off to meet up with Kamoon the elephant, who has rested overnight outside the village. Time for Kamoon to have a quick drink, and then they're off.
So yeah, I mean, traditionally it would be very common for the owner to be the mahout, or for at very least somebody in the owner's family to be the mahout of the elephant. So in the Karen tribe in particular, that's still fairly common, but as time goes on more and more, that's becoming less and less, because the elephants are very often working far away from the home place of the owner, sometimes as far away as from north of Thailand to the south, and so very often the owner or the children of the owner won't want to go with the elephant, so somebody from that area or whatever will come on to take control of the elephant. So probably stands now at about, I would estimate 20-30% would be owners and mahout.
The group soon discover that this is not going to be about just walking, because Kamoon likes to take frequent snacks. And when a 3.5-ton elephant decides to stop for a snack, well...
Well, he's worked hard for 12 months without a break. He's earned this.
But it's not long before they set off again at a very leisurely pace.
But I mean, this guy here looks as strapping as it gets. Yeah.
I think he's been well looked after, certainly.
Yeah.
And physically he looks very strong.
Yeah.
Mentally and emotionally it's very hard to tell, but he seems very calm and relaxed and comfortable with his mahouts. I think his mahouts probably treated him as best as he can. But at the same time, he deserves a life of freedom as much as anyone else.
Oh, absolutely.
At the moment we're actually heading due directly northwest.
straight towards Burma and the border. We're going to walk about 4 kilometres along the track till we hit a river or some sort of stream, and then we're heading straight up.
Excellent.
I'm not too concerned about leeches, no. No, a leech has got to eat too, so if he wants to take a little bit, he can take a little bit.
That's for sure.
We're starting to go up now, into the jungle. So we'll go about 10 kilometres, a bit uphill and then along the ridge. We'll follow the ridge along the top.
The humidity is about 90%, and the path is getting steeper now, in places 1 in 4, and some are finding the going hard.
There's a pina colada waiting at the infinity pool.
Oh, no. Okay, where is it?
Even Kamoon is slowing.
I'll probably let him go a fair distance ahead. He seems to be doing a lot better. Yeah.
And after much stopping and starting, eventually it's time for everybody to stop for lunch. So, how's the trip so far?
How's this morning? It's a bit easier than I thought, actually. And I guess when it gets hard, you just look behind you, and it's not that hard when you're looking at an elephant to keep going.
Bloody hard. A lot of uphill, more uphill than what I expected. I'm totally shagged now.
It's good motivation to have an elephant behind you, because if you start to slow down, there's sort of a punishment of being sort of run over by a big elephant. So it is good motivation. Or else if you're behind it, you have to catch up. So
Kimmin seems to be doing quite well, and it's not too hot. She's not struggling at all, which is good.
Rested and refreshed, it's time for the group to continue the walk and soon come to a magical bamboo forest.
I enjoyed this walk very much. Actually, a lot easier than what I thought.
It's amazing how quickly you can become accustomed to travelling with an elephant. It's only been a couple of hours and we feel like it's just part of the trekking family.
He's so clever how he's getting the leaves off
That's the way he's
with his trunk and breaking the bamboo up into smaller bits.
A foraging elephant would be expected to eat probably about 10% of its body weight. So this guy here, not the biggest bull in the world, but probably about 3.5 tons, 300 kilos possibly. That's different forage.
Kimmin is actually making mud. So for an elephant, mud is to like humans' sunscreen. So he covers himself in mud to protect himself from the sun, but also from the heat, protective layer for his skin so he doesn't get burnt, and it cools him down as well. And as we walk, as it dries out, it keeps him nice and cool. So you watch his feet and he flips all the mud and adds water to it. So he's actually trying to slosh the mud around to make it soft and gooey and nice and cool, and then he throws it on himself. It's coming downhill now, but we can actually look out, and as we look a fair way out into the distance, into the mountains, that's actually crossing into Burma. So we're not actually going to cross into Burma, but our final destination is probably about 15 kilometres from the border of Burma. So the hill tribe will be Thai Karen, but very similar to Burmese Karen.
the elephant eat corn. That's a problem with us. So, can you?
After several more hours, they come to a river with a bridge across. There are some who wish they could just stay here, but the group have been told that the village with the second elephant is just down the road from here, and so it's time to set off again. But the village is not just down the road, and it's several hours later and dark when they reach it. Next morning, with everyone preparing to set off for another long day of walking, there's some confusion. The group has been told that a second elephant, Tong Tay, would be waiting for them at the Karen village in which they would be staying. He would be joining their walk to freedom. But to their bafflement, they discover that not only is this not the village they were going to stay at, but there's no second elephant to free. Somewhat saddened, nevertheless they set off with Kamun. Yesterday, the group walked for more than 9 hours, and they've been told that today will also be a long one. But just after lunch, there's a shock for the group. After a short day of walking, they come upon a group of elephants. Although they'd been expecting another day of walking, it seems that the release site is nearby.
We were coming along probably about 5 kilometres back, I would say, along the mountain, and they just said stop, stop. And there was a couple of cars parked beside, and so as the cars were parked beside, all the other people were getting out of the cars and like, what's going on? And they're like, stop, stop, stop. And then 2 minutes later, out of the jungle comes the other 6 elephants. We had no idea what was going on.
You know why? The trip has gone from 3 to 2.
2 days now.
We've not got Tong Tay.
Yeah.
But no one told us.
No one told us anything.
No.
Yeah. We've not paid to
At that point, the trip organiser arrives.
This morning when we got up, we were told, today you will walk, tonight you will get Tong Tay, and tomorrow we will all walk together with Kamun and Tong Tay.
Original plan Tong Tay will come today to meet with us.
No one told us. No one told us.
Yesterday evening, Bob telephoned to me, Tong Tay, bargain for more money.
She explains that after Tong Tay's owner had agreed to sell the elephant, he had suddenly tried to substantially increase the price. This would set an unacceptable precedent, so, regretfully, she had to decline to free Tong Tay. However, the trip organiser does not explain why the walk had to be shortened, but they all agree to have a meeting later. It seems that they've reached their destination. The sanctuary where Kamun will be freed is near this village. There's nothing for it but for the group to settle in for the night. That evening, in the dark of the village hut, there's a meeting.
I think everyone is extremely grateful that on Sunday night we had no elephants to rescue, and that I know that was very upsetting for Pom as well, and it's fantastic that by Sunday night, Monday morning we had 2 elephants to rescue in Kamun and also the bull up in Chiang Rai. We were under the impression, and we had been told, that it was a 3-day walk. So yesterday we would walk, today we would walk, and tomorrow we would walk. We thought today we were arriving in a village and we were picking up Tong Tay. No one had told us that that was not the case.
Let me talk, for about this kind of thing, and we accept that, and we would like to apologize for all misunderstood and everything for communicate everything about Tong Tay.
Very soon, the other elephants in this village are going to become Kamun's permanent family, but he hasn't met them yet. First the others will be fed, and then Kamun will meet them in the sanctuary just outside the village.
See, look how happy they are. And, you know, it's just how it should be, not working their guts out, enjoying life. Much rather see this.
Having had their meal, it's time for the family to head for the sanctuary. Kamun and his mahout have been camped away from the village. The other elephants wait patiently, and then Kamun appears. The group walk up to greet him. And then the moment that everyone's been waiting for, especially Kamun.
A bit rusty.
One gone, boy. That one's still good. Yay!
Yay! Come on! Yes! Go! I know.
He's free.
For the moment, Kamun seems to revel in his freedom and wanders off into the distance.
Isn't that a great sight?
The mahout walks away from him and leaves Kamun to exult in, probably for the first time in his life, having no chains and no mahout.
Very emotional to see him return to the jungle. The chains off. Freedom. Beautiful.
The mahout says he likes to see Kamun without chains. He says now the elephant can happily forage for his own food and be truly free.
The family's coming now.
The other elephants enjoy their freedom and graze happily, unaware of the proceedings. But Kamun has decided that for the moment he doesn't want to be alone and is curious about the other elephants. Although shy at first and protective of the calf, it's not long before a couple of cows decide to make friends.
Backing a bum up.
Gee, that's quick.
Have a smell. Smell me.
Pick me out. Pick me.
And it's not long before there's a real competition.
He's got his pick of the women.
And he's found a little hussy already.
Yeah. They're all very keen to get to know him.
We're here when the chains come off and see him be able to go free. It's just amazing. And he's off now. He's so happy.
The chains will stay off, and Kamun's mahout will visit him regularly to make sure he's okay. Because although he now has his freedom in this sanctuary, if he were allowed to roam anywhere, it's possible he would be captured and end up back in a trekking camp.
Now that the walk's finished, my first feelings were that I was a bit disappointed. We hadn't quite achieved what we set out to achieve. But then later on, when I saw Kamun in in the beautiful jungle walking to freedom, I knew we had achieved what we'd set out to do. We maybe didn't free as many elephants as we'd hoped, but just one is making a difference.
Kamoon is fortunate. He's going to live the rest of his life in peace and freedom. But there are thousands of other elephants living a cruel life, and there is still a lot to be done.